Hi, I'm Rebecca and I'm one of the vets here at Taronga Western Plains Zoo in Dubbo. If you tuned into the most recent episode of Who's Who in the Zoo, you would have seen me operating on one of our African wild dogs, Masego. Masego had some lumps that we were investigating, and when we took biopsies of these, we found mast cell tumours. Certainly it's a common disease that we would see in domestic dogs, so your own pet might be diagnosed with a mast cell tumour. And at the time we thought that this was a world first. We thought that she was the first African wild dog that we'd identified mast cell tumours in. Coincidentally, it turned out that from a documentary very similar to Who's Who in the Zoo, there was another vet who had actually worked with African wild dogs that had been diagnosed with mast cell tumours. So we reached out to those vets in America, and we've been liaising with them because the two African wild dogs in America that were also diagnosed with mast cell tumours have had extensive research and surgeries, and they're under the care of specialist oncologists. And so together the two zoos have been working to try and find out a little bit more about how mast cell tumours behave in African wild dogs, because as far as we know, there's only 3 cases reported in America, as well as Masego here in Dubbo. So she is still a little bit of, I guess, a new case for us, and we are still learning a lot. And to monitor the surveillance of mast cell tumours in pet dogs, we usually recommend regular blood tests and regular ultrasounds, regular chest x-rays and things like that. It's not that easy to do that with a African wild dog at the zoo. And so what we rely on very heavily here is the keepers and them monitoring her behaviour and her appetite and her demeanour and things like that. And if any of those change, then we might look at intervening and maybe opportunistically getting some blood or some samples from her. But really, we have decided that the best thing for Masego is to keep her socially comfortable in her group, and the keepers are just going to keep watching for any new lumps or bumps that come up. I'll keep liaising with the vets in America, and that way we can all make sure that we're doing the best thing for Masego moving forward.
My name's Jordy. I'm one of Masego's keepers here at the zoo, so I've been very lucky to work with African wild dogs and Masego since she was born. So she's a very special dog here at the zoo and a very clever dog. So we've trained Masego and all of our African wild dogs to about 3 or 4 times a week. We do these training sessions where we can really closely keep an eye on her. And during these training sessions, we'll really be looking for anything that might pop up. If we notice any new lumps or anything like that, we can call the vet straight away and let them know. And also, of course, when we feed Masego, when we are just watching the dogs in general, we're always keeping a really close eye on her, just to make sure if anything changes in her demeanour or her appetite, we're on top of that. But very luckily, we have seen absolutely 0 changes with Masego. You wouldn't know that she's had these little mast cell tumours. She is just a normal member of the pack and being a completely normal African wild dog, so we can't really ask for much else.